Hey, I'm Finn, and today I wanted to talk about Avatar and the Legend of Korra. I have watched Avatar more times than I can count, at least 15. I've rewatched it every single year since I was 10, and I've also watched it more than that sometimes, because I'm obsessed with this show, I'll be honest. And this year I actually did something new, something I haven't done before. I watched The Legend of Korra. I hadn't watched it, and I'd avoid watching it because everyone else told me it was bad, and I read reviews on the internet and stuff, and they said, oh, it's trash. So I kind of just accepted that it wouldn't be good. And when watching Legend of Korra, I was lied to. The Legend of Korra is one of the best shows I've ever watched. I fell in love with every second of The Legend of Korra. I felt like when I watched Avatar for the first time, I had such this amazing sense of just wonder and falling in love with this new world that's taken place after Aang. And if you plan on watching it, I recommend reading the comics first because it does set up a lot of the context for the world, but watch Legend of Korra. Please don't let other people's opinions make you think that it's bad just because they didn't personally like it. It's got an amazing world and these really deep characters that I think you will fall in love with if you liked Avatar. And, well, Avatar The Last Airbender is probably still my favorite of the two series. The Legend of Korra does something better. Its depiction of Korra's PTSD and how it develops in late Season 3 and the Season 4 introduction area, and really throughout the whole Season 4, is perfect. That depiction of PTSD is one of the greatest depictions in TV show history. And Avatar, on the other hand, Avatar really screwed up with their anxiety depiction. I'll be honest with you, I love Avatar, but I hate Nightmares and Daydreams. That episode is, in my opinion, the worst. The Great Divide, surprisingly, doesn't have a lot of people very divided. Everyone kind of just agrees it's the worst episode of Avatar, but I disagree. While I do think it was a pretty bad episode, I don't think it was as bad as Nightmares and Daydreams. I think Nightmares and Daydreams is the worst episode of not only Season 3, but the whole series for a few reasons, and I'll just list them off right now. So the episode starts with the gang meeting up at the rendezvous point, right? Same old stuff happens. Aang goes to bed and has a nightmare about meeting the Fire Lord, but it's very childish and silly in how they present it with Aang not wearing any pants. And that happens 3 times that he has those types of dreaming, except on the third dream, it's the Fire Lord who's not wearing pants, and that's the big overcoming moment. And throughout the episode, he gets a bunch of silly little adventures, like admitting his love for Katara and calling her his forever girl, seeing this thing, and just a lot of weird stuff that really seems more silly and funny than seriously trying to take a look at his anxiety. And some dreams that we hear about but don't see seem to actually depict this accurately. Like when Aang mentions Sokka died in his dream because he wasn't able to climb a cliff fast enough. You showed us this, and you didn't show us that? That would have been amazing to see. I mean, like, it'd be messed up, but that's the point. We want to see Aang's anxieties be fully realized and have these horrible dreams, because that would fit the pacing of the season better. What episode came before Nightmares and Daydreams? The Puppet Master. The darkest episode in all of Avatar The Last Airbender. It was the most horrifying, creepy, body horror episode we've ever seen from Avatar. It was surprisingly dark. This thing haunted me when I was a kid. It was so cool to see the psychological thriller that Katara was going through while Aang and Toph found all these kidnapped villagers who were innocent just under this mountain. It was so creepy, and it was done so well. And what comes after this episode? The Day of Black Sun Invasion. You know, what it's all been building up to. The solstice happens, Sokka takes his first command, Toph leads in the front lines, and Aang is expected to face the Fire Lord, while Zuko has that confrontation with his father, they've battled with Azula and the Dai Li. So much important stuff happens. It's one of the biggest events throughout the entire show. And before you have this episode, it does not fit its place in the season at all. It's really, really out of place, and it kind of just gives you whiplash watching the show when you go from the darkest episode to the most important episode with a little break for that. It really messes up the pacing, and it seems to be too silly a depiction of anxiety. No, hold up. What makes Korra's depiction of PTSD so much better than Avatar's depiction of anxiety? I hear you not actually asking or really caring. Well, I'll tell you. Let me ask you a question. Simple question. When thinking about this event, this traumatic event that she went through in season 3, who does she see? Who does she see? You'd think it would be Zahir, right? He's the one who caused all those issues and fought her, and ultimately, almost killed her like 3 times. But no, she looks back and sees herself. So to understand why, I actually interviewed some people I knew that have been diagnosed with PTSD. And they had a lot to say, and I'll try to sum up as best I can for them. So one of the strongest examples of why it's a good depiction is one of the people I interviewed always said that they felt outcast, they felt alone, and they felt separated from the rest of their friends after their incidents. And not only that, but what they felt most was feelings of doubt about themselves, unrelated to what traumatic event caused it. Which is crazy accurate to how Korra was depicted. I mean, look at this. You have her outcast in separating herself from all of her friends, like the people I interviewed stated, that they went through the same thing. And also, when she looks back at this event, who she doubts most and who she spends the most time thinking about isn't Zahir, it's herself. And god damn, that's deep. Oh god, that's incredible. This deconstruction of trust, these feelings of doubt, and what she thinks of herself now is all really beautiful and just amazing spot-on depictions of PTSD. I love seeing herself look at herself like this and reflect in this way. She has more stress on her than anyone else. She has so many people relying on her, and she feels like she messed up, so she's trying to redeem herself. Seeing how she handles this and the toll it takes on her is incredible, and it's not a direction I thought the show would take so harshly and seriously. There's no jokes about this for Korra. There's no laughing, nothing like that. The show takes it 100% seriously and just lets you look at it and lets you take in the fact that Korra is a scarred human after the events she's been through. And not only that, but the metal poison was a perfect metaphor to physically represent her PTSD and the emotional weight it was taking on her, as well as the physical weight. But for Aang, no, Aang, he got no pants on, and there's a fight between Momo and Appa. There's samurai, baby. Well, now that I've sung Korra's praises, what can we do to make the Avatar episode better? We'll keep the general structure. So they go to the rendezvous point, and it mostly continues the same, and it will end the same way with Aang confronting the Fire Lord in his dream again. Except this time, it'll be less ridiculous. So first, cut out all the nightmares and all the daydreams, because that's where the issue lies. You can leave the silly bits of his friends helping him out as the trademark Avatar silly moments, but the rest needs to go. How about instead we see that Sokka dream first, and then we can see each of his friends going through these similar horrible events because Aang wasn't there. Because that's ultimately what Aang's biggest fear is, not being there for the people he loves. And we can see where that trauma takes place and where it's rooted in him. So I think if you wanted to really get into the psychological bits of Aang and see, who he is as a person, and if you wanted to tackle anxiety in a serious way, this would be the perfect spot to start. Let us see Aang not be there for his friends in his nightmares, and then this will make him really overprotective, and that's what's going to be worrying him. Throughout the episode, he's not worried about sleeping because of nightmares. He's worried about sleeping because he's scared something else will get the jump on his friends. I think this would be a perfect way to show Aang's anxiety in a more grounded and less silly way, while also keeping some of the silly structure moments and showing what Aang truly cares about, his friends. I believe that with the amount of stress that has been put on this poor child and the amount of hard work he's been through, the amount of horrible experiences he's seen, his anxiety would be a bit more serious than what we saw in that episode. So if there's something you want to take away from this, it's that you shouldn't be afraid in your stories to really get into their psyche and really show anxiety and PTSD as real issues. And in some instances, it can greatly help your story instead of going the opposite route and kind of harming your story. And if you haven't watched Legend of Korra, I promise it is one of the most amazing cartoons you'll ever see. And yeah, that's just about it. If you really enjoyed, please subscribe. It means everything to me. Leave a like and have a good one.